Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Shy Show. Now, I know this title and thumbnail are very clickbaity, and I will explain why, because there is a reason behind it other than it just being clickbaity. But first, I'm going to open my box from Book of the Month. So, let's do this. Now, kids, if you're ever using scissors, be careful. I don't know if you heard that over the scissors, but be careful. So, no, there's a little booklet. I'm going in this upside down. So, the bookmark, guaranteed climax every time. Okay, fair enough. There's a little booklet in here, fiction forward. Book of the Month. On the back here, it says new since 1926. Okay. Happy New Year. This may have come in the January box. I didn't, or come with everyone else's January box. This is my February box. I didn't do January just because I needed a pause. So, the best new fiction 12 times a year, every 28 to 31 days, usually in the morning, sometimes closer to midday. Happy New Year, BFF. Our mission is to bring forward the best new fiction. Our mission is to bring the best new fiction forward, celebrating and championing emerging authors and the distinctively, that was a hard word for me for whatever reason, and the distinctively fresh work they are uniquely capable of writing, providing our readers with books they might not have found elsewhere. And did we mention we've been doing this for quite some time? Since our founding in 1926, we've chosen many unknown books that later became iconic works of American fiction. In a world with what some might call an overabundance or illusion of choice, our readers enjoy the satisfaction and certainty that comes with our selection process and the quality of the books we send their way. Okay. Yes, I am going through this just to make this video a little bit longer. Okay. Reading a lot of books isn't what sets us apart. Selecting just a few of them each month does. Fair enough. Ooh, fancy. I'll open that up fully. The books you've been looking for, the books you haven't been looking for. We work to bring a mix of books likely to be in your sweet spot, as well as intriguing outliers to tempt you into venturing into a further field. We're not afraid of any genre or books that defy genres. We just look for good books and send them your way. So they go through every year, or almost every year since they started, a century-ish of the best new fiction. So 1926, when they started, The Sun Also Rises. 1937, Of Mice and Men. 1940, The Heart is a Lonely Hunter. 1951, The Catcher in the Rye, which I might get from Book of the Month because I know that's a banned book. I didn't really like it, but I might just get it to start up a banned bookshelf. I'll talk about that later, or in another video. If you want me to talk about banned books and what banned books I plan to get, comment down below. 1952, Invisible Man. 1966, In Cold Blood. 1977, Song of Solomon. 1986, A Perfect Spy. 2016, so it's not every single book each year, but it's close enough. 2016, A Gentleman in Moscow. 2017, Pachinko. I couldn't get into that. I tried. I couldn't get into that one. 2018, An American Marriage. 2019, The Silent Patient. The Silent Patient was 2019? I thought it was 2000s or early 2010s. Okay, 2020, Transcendent Kingdom. 2022, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. 2023, Wayward. And March 2023 was Wayward, and October 2023 was Wellness. Okay. So that's very interesting. Okay, Book of the Year, BOTY. The cream. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. The creme de la creme, a crowning achievement, sans crown. So the Lolly, the BOTY winner. Okay, so Yours Truly was 2023. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, 2022. The Four Winds, 2021. Vanishing Half, 2020. Daisy Jones and the Six, 2019. I did like some of Taylor Jenkins Reid's works. Daisy Jones and the Six was one of her weakest, but I do think that there are better authors out there than Taylor Jenkins Reid, and they do what she's accomplishing better. Like, and plus too, if we're going to try to focus on fiction and books, novels with BIPOC main characters, we should focus on BIPOC authors. That's all I'll say. Circe was 2018. I love Circe. I prefer that over Song of Achilles. Although I do kind of wish they had. I'll have to see if they have both Song of Achilles and Circe for Book of the Month. The Heart's Invisible Furies was 2017, and All the Ugly and Wonderful Things was 2016. Okay. We built words, geez. We built Book of the Month for the avid and the occasional, and our goal is to be friends for a long time. So this is very interesting. So now on to the book that I chose. Ooh, this is a hefty book. Okay, let's see. Set the box aside. So I've had my eye on this for a little while. This was from September 2022, and I just kept putting off buying it. This is The Attic Child by Lola Jane. Two children separated by almost a century, bound by a secret. And I love dual timeline, multi-timeline historical fiction. I think Natasha Lester does it fantastically. But I really want to expand my reading, especially with historical fiction. So, The Attic Child. Oh, that crack sounded good. I know this is in over 400 pages. Okay, let's see. How many pages is it exactly? $463, 464 pages. Okay. So this is set in the early 1900s and then 1974. Even better, dual timeline, both historical. Love that. Paddington. Love that last name. Fitting. I'm not going to read this just because I'm not going to read the description just because I feel like it's been out for long enough, like close to 30 years now. So oh, I think I'm gonna like this one. I think I'm gonna like this. Hopefully that doesn't fall over. So, getting into the clickbaity title and thumbnail. Now, I did get one other book from Book of the Month as an audiobook. I think it's called The Sandwich of Florence. Let me look at the author real quick. Also, apologies. This is very much unedited. There are some small edits here and there, but The Stone Witch of Florence. But like with a lot of my recent videos, I just haven't had a lot of time to edit, and then I have had to edit on my phone, so yeah, it just is what it is right now. So The Stone Witch of Florence is by Anna Rash. Rashe. It's on the screen. This came out October last year. And just like, it was the title and the cover that caught my attention, so this was a cover purchase. And this being an audiobook also leads into my whole topic about this video. So essentially, like I said in the title and the thumbnail, I am done with the Book of the Month audiobook feature. I will still get audiobooks. I will still purchase audiobooks, but I'm done listening to the audiobooks in the Book of the Month app. I love Book of the Month. I'm not going to stop my subscription. I'm not going to cancel it anytime soon. I might pause an occasionally like I've done in the past, but I'm not going to outright stop it at any point because I really like Book of the Month. Excuse me. And I really like a lot of the features that they've added on. Now, I have talked in a previous video about other features that I wish they would add or update to their app, which I'll link down below in the description. However, I do think that the audiobook feature is really lacking in comparison to all the other audiobook platforms there are out there. I do have Libro FM, but I haven't started using it yet just because you need to pay to get the credits, and my money has had to go elsewhere recently. So I do have Libro FM, and I do plan to use it hopefully this year. But comparing it to Audible, comparing it to the Libby app, comparing it to Hoopla, comparing it to all the other, I think there's one other that I used briefly, I can't remember what it's called, but it's another audiobook app. But comparing it to all the other audiobook apps that I've used and that I've heard good things about, Book of the Month is really lacking in its audiobook game, which is sad. Because like I said, I really enjoy Book of the Month. I really like it. I'm not going to stop using it. But I'm going to stop using their audiobook feature. I'm still going to buy audiobooks, like I think I said, because if you buy audiobooks, if you buy like 5, I think it is, then you get an extra credit. And I think that's super useful, you know? Like, you get a free credit for buying 5 audiobooks. So I'm still going to do that. And I'm still going to use and engage with those audiobooks, use and engage with the books that I've got through Book of the Month, and participate in the challenges as best I can. But actually listening to the audiobooks, I'm not going to do anymore. And I did discuss this in my things I wish Book of the Month would add or update to their app. I did discuss this in that video a little bit, but I wanted to elaborate a little bit more. So first thing first is that something I didn't talk about in that video is how recently, I don't know if I'm the only one who's had this experience, this issue with the audiobooks. I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I feel like I'm the only one talking about it, where I go in to start listening to whatever audiobook that I'm currently listening to in the Book of the Month app, and it starts all the way over. And I don't pay attention to where I stop. Sometimes I will, like, oh, I'm at chapter X, I'm at chapter Y. Sometimes I will pay attention, but 9 times out of 10, I'm not paying attention. So once it starts all the way over, it's like, I don't remember where I was. Maybe I was in chapter 3. Maybe I was in chapter 5. Maybe I was still in chapter 1. So it's like, half the time I'm not paying attention. And like, sometimes it does help if there's like dual narrators, which doesn't happen a lot with Book of the Month, I don't think. Or at least not with the audiobooks that I've gotten. Sometimes dual narrators help with the sense of like, okay, one narrator was the even chapters, the other narrator was the odd chapters. So sometimes that can help. But again, I don't have any audiobooks where there's dual narration in Book of the Month. And like I said, 9 times out of 10, I'm not paying attention to where I'm at. And I've just given up on trying to update where I'm at in the audiobooks in the Storygraph app, because like I talked about in the other video, like, it doesn't give you your overall progress in the book. Book of the Month does now, but not in the way that I like. I'll talk about that later. But it doesn't give you your overall progress in the book, like you're 1 hour into the book or you're 10 hours into the book, you know? So I've just given up on updating where I'm at in the Storygraph app. So it's like, because it's like, if I'm not getting my overall progress in the book, there's no point in trying to update the Storygraph app or Fable, you know, because it doesn't even give you a percentage. It doesn't even give you like the percentage, like you're 5% of the way through or you're 80% of the way through. It doesn't even give you the percentage, which like that would be bare minimum helpful, you know? It would be helpful either way, even though it's bare minimum. So yeah, it's like I've given up paying attention to where I'm at, and then like I said, like if it starts over, which has happened to me almost every single time I've opened the Book of the Month app and then gone to the audiobook section, it's happened to me almost every single time. And sometimes I even have to like re-download the book, and it's like I already downloaded the book like an hour ago or yesterday. So it's like that's a real frustration for me recently in the Book of the Month app. And having to restart the book or try to figure out where I was, and then also having to re-download it occasionally when I already downloaded it, like I said, the day before or an hour before. So that is a frustration. It doesn't make me like Book of the Month any less. I don't like it any less because of that, but it doesn't make it any less frustrating. So there's that. And talking about the overall progress in the book, Book of the Month did add that in as a feature. I'm not sure when they added it in comparison to when I posted that video, but the way they added it in was they have the number of hours and minutes you have left. Like if you're reading a 16-hour book, it'll say, oh, you will have 15 hours and 30 minutes left. And it's like, okay, like I can kind of guess like, oh, I have an hour and a half. I've read an hour and a half. But like sometimes it gets to a point, especially with the really longer books, where it's like you don't really want to do that math. And there should be the option to see how many hours you're into the book. Like, okay, I'm 1.5 hours in, I'm 2 hours in, I'm 5 hours in, rather than seeing how many hours you have left. Because let's say it's like a 20-hour read, a 20-hour listen, and you have like, and it says like 10 hours, and like usually that math is pretty easy, you know, because like 60 minutes in an hour, you know. So usually it is pretty easy, but it's like I was saying, it's a 20-hour read. Let's say you've read 10 hours and 13 minutes, you know. And it's like sometimes you do have to think a little bit more. So like 13 plus 47 is 60. So that would be like 9 hours and 47 minutes. You see what I mean? Like it takes a second, because it's like, okay, 10 plus 10, but wait a second, you have 47 minutes, which is that 11th hour. So you see what I mean? It's easy math, but when you're trying to figure out how far you are in the book, it's easier to be shown how far you are in the book rather than how much left you have. Which, there's pros and cons to that. And again, like, giving the percentage would be like bare minimum. Like I said, it would be helpful. It would be the bare minimum, but it would still be really helpful, because many of the reading tracking apps, Goodreads, the Storygraph app, Fable, like I think Fable emphasizes percentage, but all of them have the option to update by percentage. So it's like, even if it was a percentage, like, oh, you're 1% of the way through, you're 10% of the way through, it's like that would still be helpful. And a lot of the times for me, I think maybe like 8 or 9 times out of 10, I'm reading an audiobook. Like I'll start it near the end of the 1 month and continue it into the next month. And with the Storygraph app, I really like how they allow you to distinguish between audiobook and digital or ebook and then physical book. And so I like being able to update how much I've read of each of my books so that I can see I will continue that thought. But another thing that the Storygram app does is when you go to your monthly wrap up or even your yearly wrap up, you can see how many pages you read and then how many hours you listened to. And so being able to update every month, like how many hours I've listened to, I really like that, so that I can see how many hours in total I listened to if I finished up one audiobook that month and then started another. I like being able to see how many hours total I've listened to. And recently it hasn't been a proper reflection of what I've listened to because I can't see how far I am in the book of the month audiobooks. So, and again, like, it does show how much left, like I've talked about, like I've said, but like I've also said repeatedly, like, that math, it's easy math, but it gets to a point where it's just too much thinking when you just want to update your app, when you just want to update your reading progress. And if updating your reading progress is not a big deal to you, then this isn't a big deal. And at the end of the day, it's not a big deal. But I feel like I said earlier in this video, their audiobook game is really lacking because of these things. And I haven't used Audible in a really long time, at least a year and a half. And I know that with Audible, it'll automatically mark a book as finished, and it'll show that that book is finished no matter what. And then if you restart it, then it'll still show your overall progress. Like in the audiobook app, I know in the Audible app with the specific audiobook you're listening to, if you have it fully open, then it will show you how far you are in that chapter. Like you're 5 minutes into a 15-minute chapter, or you're 2 minutes into a 5-minute chapter. Excuse me. But if you can select the option to see how far you are in the book as a whole, and you can like minimize the screen, like you're gonna look through other audiobooks in the Audible app. You can minimize the specific audiobook you're listening to, and you'll see that you're 1 hour into a 5-hour book, you're 3 hours into a 20-hour book. So it's like, even if it's something as simple as that, I know there's a whole technological process to be able to do that, but it's still something that is on the whole a simple thing to do in comparison to the app as a whole, the Book of the Month app as a whole. And I feel like they're really trying to push a lot of their audiobooks. They're still pushing hardcover books mainly, but it seems like recently, the past couple of months, they're really trying to push their audiobook options as well, and to showcase their audiobook options. So it's like, if that's something that you're going to share, that you're going to showcase, bring up your audiobook game a little bit more, especially with all the other audiobook specific apps in the App Store that are out there in the world that anyone can download. So those are my main things. Those are the main reasons why I am done with the audiobook feature of Book of the Month. I have essentially at this point all of the audiobooks that I have in the Book of the Month app that I haven't read. I think I have like 8-ish, 7 or 8 at this point. All the ones that I haven't read, I have placed a hold on them in the Libby app, and I do have like some wait times for most of them, but I've placed a hold on them in the Libby app. And at this point, I'm just going to borrow from the Libby app, whether it's an ebook or an audiobook form, and then once I'm done with them, I'm just going to update the Book of the Month app as well. Because like I said, I do like engaging with those books, and I do like updating that I've read them and giving feedback. But at the end of the day, it's like there are better audiobook platforms. And I know that Book of the Month is like 99% focused on its physical books, and that's understandable. That's perfectly fine. But like I said, it seems like they're really trying to bump up a lot of their audiobooks on their social media platforms and even in the Book of the Month app. Like, especially with like, oh, if you buy 5 audiobooks, you'll get a free credit. Like, with those kinds of things, it's like, I would kind of expect them to up their audiobook game. But yeah, that is it. I'm gonna wrap this video up here just because I've said my piece. And like, if I'm not the only one who's struggling with this, please comment down below. Let me know. If you have any other thoughts or any other comments on this, comment down below as well. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in my next video.